Hello, I'm the Brit. There's still no wife. This is our Polish life, and this is our YouTube channel where we talk about our life in Poland, the things that go well, the things that don't go so well, what we love about the country, what we don't love about the country, and the differences between England and Poland and how we adapted moving from England to Poland. And it's not been an easy journey. It's not, and in some ways, it's not an easy journey because when things are really easy, when you've just got things handed to you on a plate, you don't always appreciate it. You don't always sit back and think, yeah, I worked for that and I worked really hard for that and I've got it and I'm so proud of myself. You just got it. So what's the fun in that? I often think like really rich kids who was born into lots of money, who've just given it. Do they really appreciate it? Are they really happy? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. I've never been born into money, so I couldn't tell you. But what I have been born into, I've been born into a brain that is very, very logical, very, very mechanical in many ways, and has a great ability to see common sense and work things out. And when I moved to Poland, I've managed to work out how to live and exist here. I haven't quite worked out how to thrive here yet, and I haven't quite worked out how to build that exceptional life yet, because there are many challenges. But I have worked out at least how to exist, and that is really important because you need to have a starting position. You need to start from somewhere, and as I always say, you start now or you get perfect later. And the existence is kind of like the foundation. And as long as it's a strong foundation, then you're going to be okay because you've got something to build on. People who fail, people who move abroad and run back to their comfort of their own country, do so because they haven't built a foundation. They haven't built something solid to build off of. And this is what you've got to be doing. And this is what we've done since we've come here. We've really worked hard to get in place things that are going to give us that security, give us that happiness, give us the health and give us the wealth. So we've looked at not just a few things in our life, we've looked at a lot of things, everything. So I look at my health. My health is very, very important to me. In actual fact, probably my health and my fitness is my number one driver in life. If I'm not feeling healthy or fit, then everything else can slide very quickly and I can get myself in trouble. So I always make a conscious effort as much as I can to improve my health, and certainly over the last few weeks I've really been working hard at that because I know what a difference it makes to me. But health is just one area. You know, we've got to look at wealth and we've got to look at happiness as well, because if you're not happy, it doesn't matter how wealthy you are. If you're not healthy, it doesn't matter really how happy or wealthy you are. You've got to tick all the boxes. You've got to be healthy, wealthy and happy to have an amazing life. And that's what we need to do here in Poland, and that's what you need to do if you're moving abroad or you're trying to achieve anything. Don't let things slide and slip because you're focusing on this one big thing. That's been my mistake in the past too many times. I focused on this really big thing, and a lot of people do this, it's not just me. And I've forgotten about everything else, and it's become very overwhelming, this big thing, because it's just so far out of my reach. I struggle to see how I can get there. But what I've learned, and I've learned this a lot more, I think, since I've been in Poland, because I've probably had more time to think about it. I've learned it's not that big thing that we should be focusing on. You know, I've come here and I've focused really on how can I build a fantastic life in Poland. How can I be happy? How can I do this? How can I do that? And I've been thinking a lot about how can. But there has to come a time where it's I can, and I do. Because without the do, and without the thought process in your mind that you can, you're never going to achieve that big thing. So there's three elements you have to look at, whether you're building a life in Poland, wherever it is, whatever you want to achieve. What is that big thing? That's your goal, yeah? The I can is very important, because if you go into trying to get this big goal without believing you can do it, it ain't gonna happen. You gotta have that belief. So if you're like I was in the past, someone who doubted themselves a lot, someone who talked negatively to themselves, someone who never thought they was good enough, You've got to work out how you can change that thought process into, I am good enough, I can do this, I'm worthwhile of this. Because until you really believe it, it's not going to happen. And I think I went through a phase in Poland where whereas I really believed I was going to do it, it's going to be great. And then I was thrown into almost this cooking pot of people and culture and language and different ways of living, and it just blew me away, really. It really did. I'm looking at the way people live, and don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking their way of life. In fact, I respect it quite a lot. But it's very different to what I'm used to, very different, just silly little things that people can really look down on you on in here by just getting the odd thing wrong. Actually makes you a little bit scared, it makes you a little bit fearful. You're like, oh, I don't want to say this to this person, or I don't want to do this or do that. You get what I mean? And it pushes you down a little bit. So when you're trying to figure everything out, when you're trying to work out in your head what everyone's saying, what they expect from you, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, how you should be conducting yourself. I mean, I used to change sometimes 3 times a day. I'd have clothes for the school run, and clothes for training, clothes for working, clothes to pick the kids back up at school, because of the image thing here in Poland, you know, the status. You've got to look this way, you've got to be that way. I'm not used to it. Really tiring, really hard to work out. Really, really difficult, and it tires you. And then you start questioning yourself, can I do this? Am I good enough? Am I able to fit in? Am I able to learn this language? Maybe I'm not. I've been here 7 months, I don't speak it that well. The self-doubt creeps in. And when the self-doubt creeps in, the I can sometimes puts a little T on the end. I can't do it, I can't. I just can't, I can't integrate, I can't learn the language, I can't build a success here, I can't find happiness here. And when you start thinking like that, this big goal becomes really overwhelming. It just disappears. It just becomes like you can't do it. And then life gets a little bit frustrating. You get overwhelmed, you get angry, you feel as if you're failing, you feel as if you're really sort of letting everybody down. And sometimes you can take that anger out in the wrong way, and it doesn't come across for a healthy life, a healthy, happy life. It doesn't translate to a healthy, happy life. So you've always got to be thinking, this is my goal, but I can. And you've got to be turning these negative thoughts into positive thoughts. So what I started to do, when I started to really doubt myself here in Poland, really think, you know, I can't do it, I started to write down one win, one little win. In my book, in my remarkable notepad, I just wrote down a little win, and I reminded myself of that time where I did something really good and I was happy and I was proud and I could do it. I just reminded myself of that. And I told myself, you can do it, Lee. You've done it before, you can do it again. And then I remind myself of my family, I remind myself of my kids. You know, the why I'm doing it, why I want to do it. You know, I went through a little phase where I didn't want to make any sales calls because I was doubting myself. I just had so many self-doubts. You know, I didn't want to do any sales calls. And the reason why I didn't want to do any sales calls is I didn't want any rejection. You do a sales call, you get told no, it's like another weight on your shoulders. It pushes you down even more. You're already feeling low. You do a sales call, it's a no. Pushes you down even more. If you don't do the sales call, you don't get the no. At least you're not pushed down anymore. But then I reminded myself of the times I did sales calls and I signed people up. I got coaching clients come into me and say, yeah, we want to work with you. I was like, yeah, I did good there. That was really good. I can do that again. I can do it again. And why am I doing it? I need to do it for my kids. I want to do it for my kids. I want them to have a better life. I want them to enjoy their life. So just by writing that one little win down, what that done was, it made it easy for me to do. Really easy for me to do. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. They make things so complicated. They want to achieve this big goal, remember? We've got to overcomplicate everything. We've got to just chuck as much as possible and keep going and never give up. And doesn't work. Compounding habits over time build up, compounding good habits, I should say, build up to you getting what you want. Equally, bad habits take you the other way. So you can be very careful, and I'll talk about it in a second. So I started to write the wind down every morning because I wanted to create a habit of better self-talk. And writing that wind down reminded me of some good times, reminded me of why I wanted to do things, and it enabled me to do a sales call. And guess what? When I went into a sales call for a coaching client, do you think I was more positive or more negative when I picked that phone up? Of course, I was more positive. I phoned the guy, we had a great conversation, fantastic, signed up as a client. So talking to ourselves in a positive way is a very powerful thing. A lot of people forget to do this, and it's really, really important, because honestly, if you don't think you can build a great life in Poland or wherever it is, you don't think you can build a great business, if you don't think you can get in shape, you're not going to do it because you just don't think you can do it anyway. And the science behind that is this: we don't like to prove ourselves wrong. We don't like, as human beings, to be wrong. So when we think to ourselves, I can't do that, we naturally look for things that support that belief, that make us right. And we get a little bit of comfort out of that. We actually think to ourselves, you know what, I was right, I can't do it. But conversely, if we think I can do it, we look for things that enable us to be able to do it, because we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to sit back and think, oh no, I can't do it when I thought I could. Yeah? So learning how to talk to yourself in a positive manner and telling yourselves you can do it will help you build a great life abroad. It really will. And you've got to keep positive, because it's going to be very difficult for you to integrate into a society when you don't understand it that well to start off with. But you've got to keep that positive mental attitude going no matter what life throws at you. It's a non-negotiable, and you've got to find little habits you can create to keep that positivity there. So the second thing is, you have your I can. The second thing is I do. Because if you don't do things, you won't get to this big goal. So the doing for me was writing that wind down. And I write a wind down every day. Every day I think of something. One day it was just, I scored this wonderful goal in the football match when I was about 8 years old, and for some reason, whatever it is, I can remember this particular goal, and I think about it a lot, and it's a massive win. It was a great goal, and there was people there cheering me and clapping me. It was a win. I write it down. I scored a wonderful goal in the match. I don't remember what the match was, but I know it was an important match. There was a lot of people there. I scored this amazing goal, and I can do things like that. It puts me in a good mood, yeah? So that's the I do. I've created that little habit of writing my win out, self-talking positively to myself and reminding myself why I'm doing it. It's pushing me on. It's moving me towards my big goal. And the other thing is, looking at what doesn't work for you as well. When I create my I do list, my habits to get me to where I want to be, I'll give you an example. I really want to get in shape. I'm really, really fed up with being a little bit overweight, and I've built my home gym here. It's not perfect, but it's functional. I can train in it. It's a fantastic piece of equipment, and I really want to get in shape. I do. I'm desperate to get in shape. So that's my big goal. I want to be 75 kg. I want a 31 inch waist. I've got all these things in my mind that I want to achieve. So when I looked at, okay, how am I going to get into shape? That's my big goal. And the first thing I did was I wrote down all the things that move me away from that goal. Eating junk food, drinking too much alcohol, sitting down all day. I sit down a lot because I work from home. I wrote those things down. So then, they're bad habits. So they're my bad habits. So then I looked at those bad habits and I thought, okay, how can I change those habits to make them good habits? Well, the first one is the eating snacks. Well, if I replace that snack with a protein shake that fills me up, will that move me towards my goal or take me away? It's going to move me towards my goal. Let's replace that. Yeah. Very, very simple. And this is the kicker. Keep it simple, because if you keep it simple, you're going to do it. If it's so obvious and so simple, you'll do the habit. If it's really difficult, you're really complicated, you won't, you'll give up, you'll fail. So one little habit. When I want a biscuit, maybe have a protein shake instead, or look for a healthier option instead. Very, very simple. The second one was, I'm sitting down every day. What can I do about that? Okay, I post maybe 10 times to social media every day. Every time I post, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do a run on the spot and a twisties on the spot, just for 30, 40 seconds, and I'll sit down again. What that does, it gets me up at least 40 times, because I do 10 bits of content, I put it onto all the platforms. So every time I post it onto a different platform, I'm up, I'm doing this. So that is moving me towards my goal. Very simple, easy to remember. I've stacked it with another habit of posting on social media, and I've created something that's helping me keep fit. What was the other one? I can't remember what the other one was now. I've waffled on a little bit. But you can see what I'm saying. I've looked at the bad habits and I've replaced them with good habits that are moving me forward. And then the other habit I need to create is that training habit. You know, I need to train. There's no point in having a gym there and just looking at it. I need to train. So what times of the day is best for me to train? Well, actually, just after the school run, drop the kids off, before I start work, before I do anything, come in and train. I know if I do that, it's done, I've trained. So I've got my training in, I've got my little running in when I'm doing my videos, and I'm eating well. That's gonna move me to my goal. But there is a but, and you've got to think of this as well, and I really want you to consider this. And I do dive quite deep into this in some of my other channels as well. And if you want to know about them, drop me a link in the comments, drop me a comment in the comments, or a link in the comment. Put a comment in the comments about it, and I'll let you know where the videos are. With the I forgot what I was talking about. That dementia. You see, it just hit me. What on earth was I talking about? Ah, yeah. With the habits you build up, you've got to be patient with these habits. Most people, they quit the gym. They quit the gym because they join a gym and they think, I'm going to train and I'm going to get fit and I'm going to get healthy and strong and whatever it is they want to achieve. And they go in the gym and they work out and they come out, and the next day they wake up and they're aching. They're like, oh, I'm really sore. They go back to the gym and they train again and they're aching, they're really sore. And they do it for a week or two and they're really hurting, and they look in the mirror and they don't see any difference. They've been doing it 2 weeks, there's no difference. And they think, what am I doing this for? This doesn't work. But what I say to people is this. No, you can have a nail and you can have a hammer and you can be bang, 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 bang that nail. And on the 10th bang, it goes into the wall. Now, was it the 10th bang that did it? Or was it a culmination of all those bangs? You know, because quite a while, you didn't really see anything happening. You're just banging the nail and it's not making any dent into this solid wall, and boom, shoom, it goes in. Yeah? So you've got to be patient. It compounds up. It builds up over time. So don't give up. Create this I can attitude. Create the I do this every day, and create the persistence to keep doing it every day, even when you don't see the results. And this big goal here starts to go like that. It starts to shrink. It starts to get smaller because you get closer to it. It just starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's not overwhelming, it's not challenging, and it's enjoyable and very rewarding. And when you do finally get there, you'll appreciate it so much more. I said at the beginning, these rich kids that was born into loads of money probably never appreciate the money, never had to work for it. If you build a business and you do it with daily, consistently, you know, doing the same thing over and over again for a long period of time, even when it doesn't look like it's working, and you achieve it, you're going to feel great about yourself. Trust me, I've done that. It's fantastic. When I get to a position where I'm financially free. I've got this perfect life here in Poland, and I can go out and I can explore and I can have weekends away and I can do all the things I want to do. I'm going to appreciate it so much. You know, when I'm fit, when I'm strong, when you're fit, when you're strong, when you've got a strong body, because you did the daily things every day and you believed you could do it and you kept going when everyone said give up, you're going to be so grateful you never gave up. So grateful. I'm so disappointed I gave up with my Polish lessons, because at the time it wasn't that important to me. If I carried on with them, if I just carried on with them, I'd probably be speaking pretty decent Polish by now. But I gave up. So now I've got to start all over again. And this is what happens. You give up, you've got to start over again. So don't give up. Be persistent. Work out what that goal is. Work out how you can believe 100% you can get that goal, and then work out the I do's. What are you going to do every day that's going to move you towards that goal, and you'll get there. You'll have a fantastic life in Poland, wherever it is you want to be. You'll have the body of your dreams. You'll be strong. You'll be fit. You'll have anything you want. You'll build that business, anything you want. And if you have trouble working all this out, I will help you. I got a subscription, a little community that I'm building, and I'm putting lots of content in like this to help people. And I'm also doing lives in there as well, just so I can talk to people on a one-to-one basis. Now, normally I charge a lot of money for this, a lot of money on a one-to-one basis. But within my subscriptions, it's just the price of a coffee a month, literally a price of a coffee a month. You can hang out with me. And if you want to know more about that, drop a like or a comment in the comments. I don't know if that's what you say. What do these YouTubers say to get you to comment? I'm not sure. I'm not that slick with these things. This is raw. This is ready. This is just me coming from the heart and trying to help as many people as I can build a fantastic life. But if you do want to hang out with me, if you do want to learn this kind of stuff, if you think that's going to help you, let me know and I'll point you in the right direction. And I'll see you next week.